What is up, guys? So yeah, welcome back to another video with LYL, and yeah, today I'm going to be talking about my car history. So yeah, basically I just want to go through a brief history of what cars I've had from when I was 17. I'm now 29, so I've gone through quite a few cars, and yeah, and obviously just tell you guys what I've had and what I've moved through and why. So yeah, I first started off when I was 17, obviously doing my lessons like everyone does. And I was at school, needed a car to get to college, go to work for the part-time, and basically as an 18th birthday present from my parents, they decided to get me a Renault 5. I knew nothing about them, I didn't know what car I wanted for my first car, but all I knew is that any car I had was going to be very expensive for the insurance, basically, obviously being at that age. And yeah, so my parents picked up a Renault 5. They hid it away while they did it up. It was sitting in someone's garden, I think, for some time, and it was doing like 300 miles a year, so it wasn't being used at all. It only had about 33,000 miles on it, and this is a 1983 car. So yeah, I'll put the picture here. This is how it started off when I first got it. It was white, it was the Campus base model, 1.1, manual choke. If you probably won't even know what I'm on about when you say manual choke, but some of the people about my age will know. If you've had a car around that age, basically when you started the car up, you had to hold a lever in, that was in the dash, to get the car warmed up and get the fuel sort of mixing in the engine properly before it could actually run, and then you'd gradually let go of the choke, otherwise it just stall and cut out for some reason. So so yeah, that was my first car. They did it all up nicely for me, put some nice wheels on it, nice stereo, things like that, cleaned it up, some seat covers and things like that. And yeah, so I had it like that for a little while, and I was always really interested in my cars at the time, and that just really got me into it. So I then wanted to, after I had that car, I then noticed that they did a sports model, which was obviously the Renault 5 GT Turbo, and there was no way I was obviously going to get one of them at my age. So yeah, basically my dad basically found an advert in the local newspaper where a guy was breaking several Renault 5 GT Turbos, and that's where he originally got the GT Turbo Gordini wheels for the car, which were really rare, but I didn't know that at the time when he told me. And yeah, he had about a few of them. He had a Raider, and he had a red one, and he had a white one, all breaking down there. And I really like the look of the red one, and he had doors, bonnets, bad boy bonnets, vents, you name it, he had it. Different, the rally bumpers with the massive like fog lights on them. And yeah, I saw this red one, absolutely loved it. He had all the body kit, all the arches, the bad boy bonnet, yeah, basically just everything I needed to give it the full kit, so that my one looked like a GT Turbo replica. And then I just started saving, basically. I had a moped at the time before that, and so I sold that, and that was the rest of the money that I needed to get the spray paint job done on the, so obviously change the white to the red so it matched all the body kit. And unfortunately, because of the time, I didn't have any pictures. So, yeah, basically I got the car painted, had it all red. I also got a Cobra alarm from him, and had it all fully wired, had the electric window conversion, central locking, just to make it a bit more sort of modern and a bit more comfortable to deal with, as it was my daily to get to and from college and to and from work. Yeah, and then I had that for a few years, had a few problems with it. The alternator belt snapped one night when I was coming back from work, which obviously I couldn't drive it, and had to fix that on the side of the road, but that was no problem. And then, like I said, I had it all finished. It was looking really nice. And then we had in Kent, definitely, it was quite a few years ago now, we had some earthquake tremors basically. It was on that day that I was driving through the tunnel towards Dover, and I lost all power basically on the motorway, so the car just wouldn't accelerate, wouldn't go, and then I noticed out my rearview mirror just loads of smoke pouring out the back. So I called up my parents, like, you know, explained to them, look, what is going on? Look, I don't understand, why is this happening? So they come check it out, and they were like, just drive it, what's the worst that can happen? So I drove it through the tunnels, drove it back, drove it through Park Farm, and tried to get it home. And then it was in the midst of all the traffic, as I was in Folkestone, that it just died. It just wouldn't start either. And I was in 4 lanes of traffic, at a set of traffic lights, and me, my dad, and some bloke in another car jumped out, helped me push it to the side of the road, and then we had to recover it back to the house. So yeah, there was, yeah, and then basically just get it home, check it out, and then typically to make it worse, as we was towing it with a metal tow bar, it knocked off the tow van, and the bull bar just went straight through the front bumper. So yeah, insult to injury basically, so, which wasn't good. So yeah, that had to be sold. I lost obviously ridiculous amount of money on that, because it obviously had no engine. Now it had a front bumper that was smashed on the front, but apart from that, the only thing that was going good for it was that it had no rust. So a lot of people did want it for parts, but we just didn't get the same kind of money I put into it. So, but yeah, like I say, I'll show a picture. This is before, and then I'll show a picture now. This is after. So that's how it was sort of looking. Like I say, they're not the exact pictures because I didn't have the exact ones, but that's, you get the rough idea of what they eventually look like. And then, so yeah, with that gone, I obviously needed another car, so I sold that one off pretty cheap, and then my parents helped me fund the rest. I was looking around at the local second-hand dealers around my area, and managed to pick up a Peugeot 106. It was a lot newer, a lot nicer. It had all the exhaust done when I first got it, and the cam belt done. Obviously they're the things that you want done when you first get cars, if you can. And yeah, they helped me fund it. I paid them back and had that for quite some time. I did some mods to it, put some nice 106 GTI alloys on it, some Lexus lights at the time. Obviously they were the big thing at the time, and now they're absolutely hideous. Don't know why I ever did it. And then put a massive subwoofer in the back like people did, massive stereo, and that was about it really. I think I had the windows tinted on that one. Yeah, I had the windows tinted, and then I was coming back from work late at night, and a police officer basically told me to take them off. So I had to strip them off and take them off, but it was, yeah, really petty basically, but it's just one of them. And yeah, basically got bored of that, the 1.1 life, and I was working somewhere, and one of my mates that I worked with had a Saxo VTS, and I was checking it out on lunch breaks, things like that, and looking at it, and it looked really, really smart. I really liked it. It was in the Mauritius blue, bucket seats, roll cage, all that, and just happened to be that one come up for sale around the corner from me, literally 10 seconds down the road from me. I managed to sell my 106 for a very good price, and the wheels off it for extra money as well, which funded this new Saxo, which I'll show. Well, I'll show you a picture of the 106. Obviously this is what it was before, what I had, the 106, the first 106 I have, and then I went and picked up the Saxo here, and that was absolutely lovely. Everything was done to it. It was lowered, the torsion bar was done for it, the power steering piping had been relocated so it wasn't rubbing when it's too low on a Saxo. It had some nice wheels in it, but I was selling those because I wanted to keep the 106 ones that I had from my parents, because they obviously bought me them. All the body kit was colour coded, and it was all really nice, well serviced. Someone spent like £1,000 getting Corbeau to retrim all the door cards, the front seats and the rear seats, so they looked absolutely immaculate and really nice. And apart from that, it just drove really nice. Really nice car. Had that for a couple of years, but unfortunately, as I was driving it to the end of the 2 years, I stuck it in the garage because I kept finding oil leaks basically coming from it. I thought it was the cam covers, which you do get on those cars quite often, but it didn't happen to be that. I got them sealed several times by a local garage, and they sealed it up several times with different strengths of sealant. They ended up using like Land Rover really strong sealant that still wouldn't seal it basically. I spent an absolute fortune trying to get to the bottom of it, and I still couldn't to this day get to the end of it. They had all the engine apart, they were stripping it down, and I think they said someone had been messing around with the gaskets in the bottom of the engine, and yeah, so they'd done some damage down there prying about. So with that on the case, obviously I'd spent a lot of money trying to get that investigated, so it was on to a new different car basically, and I put it up for sale, and this came up. So it was a BMW 318 Ti compact, very well, nicely spec'd, very comfortable to drive. It was a bit like a boat though, it was a bit up and down, but it was nice, you know, it was a nice comfort thing because I was driving about an hour, hour and a half each day, so it was nice to have something a little bit more comfortable rather than a solid lowered car. So yeah, basically made the swap with a guy for that and some cash my way obviously, and then I went and bought some M6 alloys for it, as you can see in the picture. They were like 19s or something by 8J wide, absolutely ridiculous. They fitted perfectly though within the wheel arches, but as soon as I had someone in the back, it just scraped the rim, and I was fuming because obviously it's a polished lip and it just dug right in. So yeah, I weren't too happy about that, but that's the only thing I did to that. I think I transferred, because I had the subwoofer still, so I transferred that into the Saxo, and then I transferred it again into the Beamer, so I still have my sounds, my tunes and things like that. That was then running very rich and had a lot of money being on fuel, so I didn't like that. I had that for about a year or so, and it was just costing too much in fuel. I had it all serviced, all done properly, and tried to flush it out and see if it would help it being an older car, but it didn't really help, it didn't really do much. So yeah, with that, obviously then I went back to a Peugeot 106 after that, a 1.1 again. I'll put the picture here. This is obviously showing when I was done with it, when I'd finished doing my bits to it, and this is probably one of my most favourite cars, ones I do really miss, and it was a bit of a shame what happened to this one. So basically, yeah, I had it in stock form. It's Mauritius blue. Absolutely love the colour again. It's a really nice colour when the sunlight hits it. I did absolutely everything to that car to get it to the way I absolutely wanted it. So it had like the twin fan conversion, it had the cold air intake, it had the 106 GTI alloys that are painted satin black. Then I decided I wanted everything smoothed, so I had the front bumper smoothed. I went and got the GTI body kit, as you can see in the picture, smoothed off the front emblem where the grille is, and I had all the side mouldings painted, the rear bumper painted, and the rear boot was flushed off, and it had a boot popper in it which I installed. And I had the GTI leather seats up front, the half leather GTI leather seats up front, nothing in the back. I just had my sound system in the back and a strut brace up front. And then I went through trying to look for some coilovers for it, because I wanted some nice coilovers for it, but I didn't have a lot of money at the time, so I thought I'll give VMAX a go. And the absolute worst idea I've ever done with coilovers and suspension, it I think originally it was on SPAC springs, and then I wanted coilovers because I wanted it lower. The springs were absolutely fantastic, but just not low enough. But the coilovers, those VMAX ones, were just a complete waste of money. They just didn't work. I had them for about a week and they started blowing the shocks out. Then I sent them off to get them rebuilt back to Germany. It took about 6 weeks, and I just didn't bother with that after that. I didn't even want to waste the money of the labour putting them back on. So I just thought, right, I'm going to sell them. I think I got about 100 quid for them, so I was just happy to get rid of them because they were just going to be sitting in the garage otherwise. And then I went and bought some Gaz GHA coilovers, and fantastic, absolutely love them. I couldn't recommend them enough. They were absolutely brilliant. I have them on my current race car at the minute, and they were amazing basically. Then yeah, I just did all my little changes to that. I then wanted obviously a bit more power coming out of the engine because it was a 1.1 engine, and just as it goes, I found a VTR engine on eBay. I bidded on it and I got it for £32 or something, and it was the 2001 model, so I needed the free plug pin one because of mine obviously being a 2001 plate car. I then found it on eBay, went and bought it. Guy was amazing. Yeah, I couldn't believe my luck that I got an engine for that cheap. So it was a Mark II VTR engine, and that would then boost the power from about 60 brake horsepower up to around 100, so nearly double the power, which is really good. But more importantly, it had the 1.1 gearbox still on it, so the ratios were really small, making it obviously very quick to accelerate, which obviously made it feel really quick as well. Yeah, had all that done, had it all converted, had it all fitted. Absolutely loved it. I had it just where I wanted it. I had Polyflex bushes all round, at the Powerflex bushes on the axles. I had the rear disc beam conversion, so I had no the rubbish crummy drums on the back, because I had a couple of those with the previous 106s where they actually seized up and I had to get a garage to grind and cut them off, which cost as much as an axle conversion. So I was like, yeah, I'm getting that for better braking as well, because obviously got more power in the car now. Yeah, and like I said, I had it all exactly how I wanted it. I had that for about 2.5 years. I was coming home one night. It was one of those evenings when it was dark, about 5 o'clock. Obviously I had my headlights on coming home. Parked outside my house, and there was like a 7-seater taxi sitting not outside my house but the house next door, dropping someone off, and I parked behind him but left about 2 metre gap between me and the back of his van. And I don't know how he didn't see me, because my headlights would have been pointing into the street at him and right behind him, and obviously the noise of the engine, it was quiet around the area at the time. And I've just got out of my car, I've left the car, slammed the door, locked it, gone indoors, and I've just heard thump. Like, right, I knew what had happened before I even looked out the door, and I was like, no, what's going on? Someone's hit my car basically, and he's hit my car. And so yeah, sure enough, I went out there and my car was like 10 feet down the road, like, you know, it was 2 car spaces away, almost at an angle, so it was like the front end had swung out and the back end was against the curb. That was the only reason why I didn't go any further, that it hit the curb. And then he had the cheek to come out and he was going, what are you doing parking there? It's like, it's a normal car space, mate. Well, what are you doing? You know, you've not looked what you've done. I said you didn't even check your mirrors, that you've just reversed straight into me and hit my car. So yeah, so I went through his insurance. It took about 1.5 years to go through him, because he was absolutely fighting it for ages, denying any liability, even though I wasn't even in the car. So how can you say it was, you know, my fault when you was driving and you just hit my parked car? So yeah, that dragged it out for a while, but eventually it got fixed, and then I got screwed by the repair company. So when the car went in to get repaired, it didn't have hardly any damage to the front bumper, it just literally cracked it, so it needed a new front bumper and painted. They then said that the car was needing at least about £904 and 12 pence or something like that. They then said to me, oh, the work is going to cost £904 and like 14 pence. So I was like, right, okay, so you've written my car off over a few pence. Yeah, we have. Oh right, okay, so my car's now a Cat C, you've completely devalued it, and not only that, I have to go and take it to one of those DVLA, I don't know what they were called, like the re-registering stations, whatever they're called, so that you can get your car, it's like a massive MOT, so you can make sure the car's safe and okay to go back on the road after it's had this massive crash. And that's written it off over £900, but I explained to them, I said, why does it cost that much? And they were like, well, the bumper's X amount, blah blah blah. And I was like, well, that can't be right. It's like, well, and they said, well, that's the main dealer prices. Oh right, okay, so they were buying from main dealer, and not only were they buying from main dealer, they were buying them, obviously they were brand new obviously, but the bumpers and things didn't have any trim on them, didn't have any of the vents, the fog lights, anything like that. So once they started adding that all in, the price was just going 200 quid, 300 quid, 400, 500, 600, 700. And then once it obviously needed painting, that was like 300 to 300 quid, 350. And so the price was just coincidentally a few pence over, so because they didn't want to pay for it. So I got the car back, and they wrote it off. I got a check for the difference, which wasn't much really good to me because I wanted my car and I wanted it to not be a Cat C. So yeah, I was stuck with a car now that was tainted to me, that had a Cat C. I didn't like the idea of that, even though I knew it had minimal damage. So that really, that really bugged me, and I had to sell it. So that I made a few hundred quid off it. I lost a lot of money on that again, but just one of them, nothing, it's out of your hands, you can't control it. So yeah, that was one of the really annoying ones that I had, but then I had to move on to different things. So then after that I went and got a Ford Focus Mark 1 diesel TDC, as a TDDI, and it was okay. It had your typical Ford problems. As soon as I had it, it was riddled with issues. After I had it, it had a weird speed sensor ABS issue. So when you put your foot on the brake, the brakes weren't properly kicking in, but the brakes were juddering, and then they would lock up. I had the garage look at it, and yeah, I spent a fortune on that car trying to get it fixed. But yeah, here's a picture of it anyway, how it looked. It looked really nice. The only problem is the central locking, like most Fords, it didn't like the rain, so it would unlock itself, lock itself whenever it liked. I put some Moret headlights on it, and the bonnet, the bonnet locking mechanism didn't work either, surprise surprise. So I flushed off the grille and I put some bonnet catchers on it, which made it look quite nice, and I had some Oz Super Leggera alloys for it, and then I put a full stainless steel exhaust from Catback on it as well. And then we did a road trip around Europe in it, so it did really well. I definitely got my money's worth out of that car, and we had some good memories in it. We drove it all around Europe and had a good 2.5 weeks in that car, and I drove that for about a year or so again. And I was just sick of the issues with the ABS. The ABS issue kept coming up, just felt dangerous to drive, so I just got rid of it. I then wanted something more newer and reliable, so I went and bought a really cheap car because we were moving house and getting our first flat. and obviously I needed to save some money, so I thought, what could I do to get that, to bring the cost down, but I could have something new and reliable and as my daily for my everyday car. So I thought, I quite like the little Toyota Aygos. They're quite quirky and look quite smart. So I went and looked in, got some finance on one, got a 5-door blue one with Bluetooth and aircon and stereo and things like that, and it was quite nice. You could tell it was really cheaply made, and it was quite enclosed when you were in it, and the gearbox was, you know, really juddery, and the quality wasn't there, but I knew that was to be expected. But it saved me a lot of money. You know, the car tax was £20 a year, insurance was so cheap, and the fuel was pretty cheap on it as well. So that did me a couple of years, and then I gave that back. I didn't want it after that. It was, again, after having quicker cars, I just got bored of that. And then after that, I bought my Renault Clio racetrack car. You can see that here. I still have that car, and I'm still working on it. You'll see on my Instagram. I absolutely love it. I fell in love with it. I bought it for like 200 quid. It was just going to be a track car, but then as I dug into it, it just needed more and more work. But I was willing to do that more and more work, because I just appreciated that car, and it reminded me of my Renault 5. So I always wanted that Renault 5 experience back, and it was a lot nicer, a lot newer, and it had the better engine in it. So yeah, so I've been working on that, still working on it now, and hopefully be doing some track days on it. Yeah, so that's my side project, and obviously I was at one point thinking about planning to do that as my daily car, but obviously time ran out, and I was waiting for a painter to actually paint the car, but he let me down, so I had to find another car. So I found this, which was a really cheap Ford Mondeo Zetec, quite well spec'd, quite nice colour. Just had like loads of work done to it, alternator, things like that. But again, dodgy central locking, typical Ford issue. And yeah, it was a good little runabout for a while. Had that for a nice little while. It was nice to drive, nice and comfortable. It's a Mondeo at the end of the day. It just did A to B. That's, yeah, again, got pretty bored of it, so I had to get rid of it. And then after the Mondeo, I went and got another Saxo VTS. Quite local to me, a guy had it. It was, it'd been like sitting around for, again, it had that like greeny, mossy sort of around all the trims and all around the sunroof, but generally looked really tidy, really nice, original condition. Hadn't been modified like most of them are, or messed about with. The guy was the original owner from new. And yeah, actually fell in love with it, loved it, great price for the car, and had to have it basically. So I managed to sell my car in one day and managed to buy that one in the next. So that was really, really handy and really lucky to get. And yeah, just I wanted to leave this one pretty standard. It drove quite nice as it was. I just put like a strut brace on it and just cleaned it basically, kept it really tidy, put some new tyres on it. Anything I could do to get the feel of it, to make it feel like as nice as it could possibly feel for that kind of age of car. It was the last generation of 2003 plates, so and it was, yeah, it was nice. I liked it, but as soon as I started digging into it, the passenger door dropped, so I had to get that re-welded. And then I found some other issues, and it was just one thing after another. It just started snowballing basically, where I was like, nah, this is getting ridiculous now. I can't keep doing this. So I got rid of that, and basically, yeah, I went and got this my current car, which leaves us to now. So I got my 2009 Clio 200 in Glacier White with the Glacier White matching wheels. And it's all standard, no modifications on it. It's very well spec'd, really nice. It doesn't have the Recaro seats in it, but that's okay because the standard seats are really, really nice. aircon, cruise control, CD players, normal, electric windows, all sorts of sensors inside to tell you if the door's open, to tell you if the oil level's correct. Just nice little comforts like that basically, but again it's a lot quicker and a lot nicer and a lot newer, so that's why I went for it. So that's my current car. I've had that for about a month now, absolutely love it. I had just a guy the other day saying, come past me on his bike, and he's like, oh nice car mate. He's like, oh, I was like, oh yeah, thank you very much. He was like, yeah, I've got exactly the same, but I've got it in storm grey. So yeah, people do appreciate it, and someone else saw it as well and they were like bibbing along. But no, absolutely lovely cars, nice to drive, nice and practical for what they are as well, and extremely quick. Obviously being my age, I can get decent insurance on things like that now. I've got like 11 years no claims, so my insurance is pretty good enough. And yeah, that's about it guys. So yeah, you've had my full car history, so I hope it hasn't been too boring. I hope it's been quite interesting for you guys, and I'll be doing another video about first time drivers insurance, and hopefully see you on the next one. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe and share, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers guys.